We speak English much better than you do our words, but we know the tongue you prefer is that of death."
Reaching into the fur pouch tied onto his belt, he pulled out a knife, stained with blood. In front of Mercia, Nathan tensed, but the Indian merely threw the weapon to the ground.
"You know this blade, I think."
The interpreter jumped from his horse to pick up the knife.
"No,"
he blinked, turning it in his hands.
"I do not." "Then perhaps you will know this."
He let out a screech, a shrill sound, more of a bird of the forest than of a man. A ragged object flew from the undergrowth, crashing on the dirty track near to Nathan's horse. Mercia peered round, to be repulsed by a severed head, the pale skin of an Englishman turning grey amidst sunken cheeks. The blood at the neck was black and congealed. She looked away, nauseous, involuntarily thinking of her father.
"Savage dog!"
The interpreter's companion pulled his trigger, but his fury impaired his aim. The bullet went wide, ploughing instead into the bushes. A high-pitched voice screamed out in pain, a boy tumbling from his hiding place, clutching his shoulder. Of a sudden, a mass of angry men, their shining bodies covered in grease, stormed onto the trail. Nicholas hugged his horse closer to Mercia's, but then another, somberly dressed man in their party rode forward, turning aside a young follower who had been shielding him, just as Nathan and Nicholas had been protecting her.
"Aqueduct!"
he shouted at their assailants, holding up a wrinkled hand. And then to his own men, "Stop!" He halted his horse in front of the Indian who had spoken, raising his hands in a gesture of peace, all the while exposed to being hacked down where he sat. The Indian stared up at him a moment, breathing steadily, before curtly nodding and barking orders to his own men. Grumbling, they lowered their hatchets and guns, glaring at their leader in their bloodlust, but obeying his instructions nonetheless.
"Powwow, Winthrop," said the Indian. "For you I will listen."
He narrowed his eyes.
"But only as it is you." "Coaontam."
Winthrop bowed in his saddle.
"Your wisdom is strong, Sachem."
His eyes flicked to the severed head.
"Now, let us talk."
The road to New England should have been well worn after several years' use, but the track was tortuous as it weaved through the dim forest. The deep ruts were causing trouble even for horses accustomed to the colonial wilderness, and the recent rain was making the grooves slippery, the going becoming slower still. As Mercia made her way into a river valley, the water running swiftly below, Nicholas's horse skidded in the mud behind, knocking its head into the flank of her mount. But she kept her balance, soon reaching the narrow river that blocked their path. While she was waiting for her turn to ford the stuttering stream, the men liked her to go in the middle. They thought she needed the protection. Winthrop fell in alongside her.
"Do not mind the men," he said. "After that excitement, they're anxious for home."
Mercia nodded.
"I can understand that, Governor."
Winthrop smiled, his face creasing under his broad-brimmed hat.
"You tired of America already, Mrs. Blakewood?"
"Why, no." She looked up at the trees, the elms by now familiar from their 3-day ride. "Surprise encounters aside, it is invigorating. So unlike home. But home will always be home."
"I too once thought of England as home," he mused, fiddling with the reins of his horse. "But that was above 30 years ago. Now, home could never be anywhere but here. I'm more pleased than you know that you accepted my invitation to visit us."
He lifted his rein with a gloved hand.